Well, hello and a very warm welcome. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. My name is David Roth from WPP, and this is the third of a three-part series from WPP and Alibaba, looking at the opportunities that China can present for you. I'm delighted that you've joined us for this session, which is probably going to be the most interactive of all the sessions that we have run so far. We are going to we're going to choose to do a couple of things, which I'll explain in a second. But I would also like to welcome you, not just from me, but also from David Lloyd, our partner in this, the general manager for the UK and for the Nordics for Alibaba, and to thank the Alibaba team in particular for all their help and assistance in making this possible. We've sort of taken an amazing journey over the course of the last 3 weeks. In week one, we really did look at China, its place in the world, how the Chinese consumers had changed fundamentally and are changing, and the pace of change in China. In last week's session, we looked at a deep dive into Alibaba, so you can understand how the ecosystem of Alibaba can work for you in order to help with your overall China strategy. And for this week, our theme that we've chosen is really looking at in depth the new phenomena of the whole notion of live streaming, and how live streaming can help you not just grow your brand in China, but also grow sales significantly as well. Now, as all things that operate at China speed, we've seen live streaming over the course of the last 6 or 7 months increase significantly. I know on Alibaba's Taobao platform, I think live streaming sales have increased by more than 115% year on year. Now, as we go through this session, I'm sure that there's going to be a number of questions that you might have, and we hope to have time at the end of today's session to answer any of your questions on the whole notion of live streaming and key opinion leaders, as we'll get to explain to you exactly what all that is. Best way of doing it, the lowest tech, but probably the easiest, just send me an email at david.roth@wpp.com, and between myself and our guests, who I'll introduce a little bit later as we go through this, we will do our very best to answer those questions. So a little bit of live streaming in numbers. China has by far the largest live streaming market in the world in terms of revenue. It's about 112 billion RMB. There's been dramatic uptake over the course of the last few months, and consumers are really now telling us, both through surveys and from their actions online, that they are responding more and more and looking to live streamers to help them make product decisions. And in the latest, I suppose, shopping festival 618, during the Taobao broadcast for that, they generated about 100 million of revenue, RMB revenue, just through sales through live streaming. So as we can see, just from a helicopter perspective, live streaming is important now. It's going to be significantly important over the next months and years ahead. And you really do need to understand how it all works and operates in order to participate in this important go-to-market channel. And of course, we will be discussing the relevancy of live streaming, not just in China, but also how applicable it will be to other parts of the world, other bits of parts of Asia, and also Europe, the US, and also the UK. Now, it's getting a little bit late in China, so we're going to move very quickly to our first series of guests, which is Mark Yuan and Zoe Zhang. They're both co-founders of Lux. Lux is a consultancy that is, I suppose, the bridge now between about 400 brands in Europe, the US, and in China. It's based in New York and has a buying office both for fashion brands in China, and also has been at the forefront of innovation in terms of live streaming and e-commerce. I'd just like to say a very, very warm welcome. The reason I say it's getting late in China is because we are going to go live and look at how a live stream works as well. So, Mark, a very warm welcome. It's very nice both in a minute to see you and also, hi, both of you. Very nice to see you. I know it's very...
Hi, David. Hi, everybody.
You're
We're saying hello from New York.
You're in New York. It's early New York and very, very late in China. So we're trying to bridge that particular gap. Perhaps just to frame everything, perhaps you can talk about, I suppose, what it is you do in the context of the way in which this whole market has started to expand. And I think that will give us both a context of you and also the way in which live streaming commerce has gone from something that's been quite interesting to something that is an essential ingredient now of marketing and sales strategy in China.
Absolutely. For those of you that are tuning in from YouTube and WPP and Periscope, we're just saying hello. This is another form of live streaming. Please comment, please share, and stay tuned. We're going to have a nice treat for you. And from our perspective, this is Zoe Zhang, co-founder of Enlocks. I'm Mark Yuan. Please say hello. We are a live stream commerce and business solution company. I guess our job is to educate and consult American and European companies about live streaming. Our mission is to help them to understand how to add live streaming capabilities for the future, right? Live streaming has been... Today, we're going to do a live demo later on, but let me just give you a run through of our history and how we started this journey. Zoe and I started in the fashion industry in early 2000. And in 2009, she is a fashion designer. I was a production manager. We decided to build our own company called Enlocks Inc. The idea was a traditional wholesale model. We were buying for China market, high-end boutiques, retailers, both online and offline. We did that quite well for a few years. Fast forward to 2016. That was the year Alibaba Group launched its groundbreaking live streaming technology and platform. And they invited us to join that platform and showcase some of the products and brands that we have been working with in the past 10 years. As David mentioned, over 400 brands from Europe and the US. In the beginning, we didn't know what this live streaming was about. The first show we ever did was not about selling, actually. It was about showcasing a $43 million townhouse in Upper East Side, New York. And at that moment, we understood what an impact it would have for social media, because we received 110,000 viewers, over 250,000 likes. And we actually have 42 leads about inquiry about that mention. But anyway.
Did you manage to sell it?
No, we did not. We don't know how to transfer the money. And I don't think Alipay handles that amount of money back then.
That would be one amazing Alipay transaction, yeah.
Yeah, but it was so exciting, so exhilarating, that interaction, that communication with, thousands of people all together. But we never tried selling until a few months later. As I mentioned, we work with a lot of fashion brands, and one of the fashion brands was moving office. They had about 700-800 pair of shoes in their office, and they didn't want to relocate them and restock them. So they asked us whether we can help them to sell them. Back then, Zoe, Jeannie, and I, we tried our first ever live streaming show. Within 3 hours, the three of us, without any experience, not knowing what to do, handle hundreds of customers simultaneously and sold every single pair of those shoes, 700 pair of shoes within 3 hours. At that moment, when we look at each other, not knowing how to ship these back, how to address customer service inquiries, we don't know anything, right? But we knew at the moment, we look at each other, this was the future of e-commerce and retail. So that's how our journey started. Fast forward in the next 2 years, we accumulated over 100,000 customers. And in 2019, because the demand for live streaming and live commerce is so huge, we decided to offer consulting service. We believe the brands are the best representative of themselves. If we can somehow teach them and coach them into live streaming on their own and give them a pathway to test the Chinese market through Alibaba's amazing platform, why not? So we started offering consulting service and enabled them to build the live streaming team and live streaming capabilities. And fast forward into 2020, we're in a very terrible years with the COVID. That accelerated the need for change, the need for brands and corporations to connect to their consumers, build their customer base remotely, virtually, safely, and effectively, and interactively. And that's the whole big picture of what we do and how we started, how we got here. I just want to give you, before we are doing the live demo, I always believe a picture is worth 1,000 words. I just want to give you a background on why live streaming it has been so successful, David, in China and in Asia, and why we believe this trend will continue to spread all across the globe. Live streaming is not your traditional two-dimensional home shopping network, right? It's live and three-dimensional. You can basically pick up a shirt and talk about the quality, show them the inside material, show them the seam, show them the color, show them the label, show them the size, and the model can actually try them on, give you a three-dimensional shopping experience. At the same time, I also want to talk about the interactive nature of the business. Not only a traditional home shopping network in QVC, you're just talking to a TV. You're not getting any feedback until the phone rings or the orders coming in through the website. But with live streaming, you're talking to the consumers, customer are talking back to you. That sort of interaction creates enormous opportunity for brands to understand the consumer, like instantaneous feedback. Also, not only we're talking to each other, the consumers are actually talking to themselves. That creates a very, very addictive social shopping experience. Also, Alibaba's Taobao Live platform, it is one-stop shopping, right? The watching of the show, understanding of the product, checking out the product, paying the product, tracking the package, customer inquiry, everything is in one ecosystem. You can actually get an instantaneous 3 minutes long. If you are buying a big ticket items, you can do installment of a payment instantaneously. So that shopping, frictionless, seamless shopping experience creates higher conversion and more sales for any brands to consider. So enough said. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Why don't we show you a treat how live streaming is really about and what it looks like behind the scene?
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Let's do this. Okay. All right, let me just fix this up a little bit. Okay.
Okay, that's good.
As you can see, Zoe is actually doing a live show at that moment. This camera is what a regular consumer see on their smart devices, whether it's a cell phone or an iPad or even a computer. You can watch it, right? So on the top of the screen, on the top upper left side right here, you will see the number of consumer tuning in. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but right now we have over 10,000 people watching us right now.
So just because that's 10,000 Chinese consumers literally at this moment watching Zoe live stream, and we are watching the output of that as we speak.
Absolutely. I mean, more or less, that's the number, right? On the lower left corner, that's customer giving their comments right now. Somebody is saying heart that product. Zoe is saying hello and say Okay, so if you look at the low, so Zoe is actually engaging the consumer and asking them to say hello. Soon enough, you will see hello coming up over here. Can you see it?
Yeah, ni hao to everybody.
Do you say see hello coming up right at the moment?
David, did you say 你好？
Ni hao.
哦，有没有听到他在讲中文呢？说你好，
大家继续说 hello.
大家继续说好了，我们的代金券，
Okay.
小哥有
Yeah.
So,
Sachin.
so as you can imagine, this kind of communication with the okay, sure. So as you can see, you can engage the consumer in a way that was never possible before. You tell them to do something, they will do it for you. Chinese as a consumer are extremely social. They want to talk to the brands. They want to build that personal relationship. That's what makes live streaming one of the reasons makes live streaming so addictive. As you can see, if I can tap this tab right here, you can see all the products on this. With one click, I can check out the product, the price, the materials, the size, what's available. And there's two tabs right here. One is to add to cart. The other one is one click buy, kind of like one click buy. If you do that, it's directly connected to your thumbprint and connected to your Alipay. Something will be instantaneous transaction happens. Okay, Zoe is actually engaged. So at the same time, you're still watching the show while checking out the product. You see, you have a smaller screen. If I tap this, you're back to the show. All right. So right now we have about 25,000 likes already. Okay. You see the orders that are coming in on top of the screen right here. Right. People, you see the numbers of order that are coming in. So everything as a consumer, everything with this app, you can check out, make payment, track your package, talking to your consumer, talking to your friends in the show, tracking package, all of that is instantaneous.
I mean, we talk about being close to our consumers. You can't really get much closer than that, can you?
No, absolutely not. You can ask them a question. This is what happened in our previous show, right? We showcase a collection for next season, right? And hundreds of consumers, thousands of consumers will come, oh no, between those two products, the gray one and the blue one, we absolutely love the gray one better. If 70% or 80% of your consumer tells you they like the gray one, guess what? The brand should take that to heart and produce more gray one instead of the blue one. So what does that really tell you? What's the implications? For the brands, almost it's like having a crystal ball. You do not have to produce unnecessary inventory. You don't have to throw a dart in the dark to forecast the production level you're about to go in. This is amazing. Live streaming gives you a window into consumer psyche. In addition to this, I just want to talk about I just showcased what makes live streaming so addictive for the consumers. But what does that really mean for the brands? You can market to your consumer directly without any middleman. You build your brand image the way you want to manipulate. Also, you can sell to multitudes. With three people, you can take care of hundreds of customers simultaneously. Imagine you go into a retail stores. One sales associate might be able to take care of one or two or three customers simultaneously. But with live streaming, you can do it to hundreds, if not thousands of people, right? Instantaneous feedback from the consumers, right? Also, meaningful engagement. You're able to build a relationship directly with the consumers. That was never possible before. Imagine building a relationship and understanding the consumer the way you can understand their life, and they will tell you what they're going through. And based on that, you are receiving invaluable data for your brand. Minimum investment and no risk. This is what I always tell the hundreds of brands that we help, that there's no risk and the investment is minimal. Remove barrier. It removes the barrier of trade, barrier of national boundaries, geographic boundaries. It removes all the traditional retail, wholesale, e-commerce barriers. finally, you can have better production planning. So I guess this is our part is almost done. I think that was a presentation that we have so far. So as a company, we are helping brands to understand live streaming. So we have live streaming consultation and training service. We're also helping brands to understand what technology and what platform to use, especially Taobao's platform. If you're thinking about entering into China, if you're thinking about testing the Chinese market, you don't have to be afraid of the massive market that's different. We can offer you a pathway into the Chinese marketplace. David, I think my presentation is kind of done.
Right. Well, thanks very much, Dean. I think thank you very much. So I think people will be very surprised that as part of the live streaming, there's not a crew of 75 people, 35 cameras, makeup artists, etc. That it appears, it seems it's just a smartphone and an internet connection.
Exactly. As you can see, it was basically from my hand. One cell phone, one model, one host. That's it.
This is the way I used to put it. You can take your phone and all of your consumer in that phone. So you can take your consumers to anywhere at any time and sell anything. I always say, so if our customer wouldn't mind 1 week hot dog, I can literally stand on the New York street corners and sell hot dogs from the spot. So that's the amazing mobility of Taobao live streaming app. Yeah.
So in your experience, what do brands need to do in order to start on this journey of live streaming?
Well, so a brand has to think strategically about Chinese market. Chinese market, it is different, right? But with Alibaba's platform, everything is there to assist you. Number one, think about building a live streaming team. Two, find a partner that understands the Chinese market, especially a local partner that can deliver your result. But live streaming is so casual, you don't have to think about a large setup, right?
Yeah.
It's a few people, articulate people, presentable people, just building a customer base, building that relationship with consumer through live streaming. Yeah, it's not that complicated, but it is a learning curve. Yeah.
What are some of the sort of concerns or misapprehensions that you've noticed that brands, retailers, manufacturers have about the whole concept and notion of experimenting with live streaming?
Yes, as we mentioned, we work with a lot of brands. When they think about China market, they think about this huge unknown market that there's no way for them to have the know-how or resources to enter this market. That's the biggest misconception about China. Well, that could be true 20 years ago, but it is no longer true. With Alibaba, with Tmall Global, you don't have to build expensive infrastructure or team in China. Right now, where you are, whether you're from Europe or you're from the US, whether you're from South America, from your brand's location, you can enter China and test the market in a nimble, very agile way. Test the market, make changes, then test it again. Before you do a full-on assault on the Chinese market, you don't have to do any of that anymore. That would be the biggest misconception out there.
Yeah, and now I think Alibaba Tmall Global just added another warehousing system from the overseas. So that's the purpose is to help the brands even more, give them more convenience about shipping and everything to China.
It's called Tmall Overseas Fulfillment Center, right? TOF. So your products don't actually have to leave the country until it's sold. Just imagine that. So it is so convenient, and you don't have to spend tons of money just moving your team, moving your products
exactly without
to China.
knowing how much you can sell in
exactly.
China.
Yes. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that 2020 has been a challenging year for you. It's been a challenging year for everybody on this broadcast. Looking into your view and analysis of live streaming and I suppose social commerce. What do you see the future? And do you see the future for social commerce and live streaming being something that's going to accelerate dramatically as a result of the last few months, or is it something that's going to had its peak?
David, I'm glad you asked that question. I believe this whole situation that we're dealing with right now accelerated the need to change. You know, the traditional two-dimensional e-commerce was already on the decline. So many brands are struggling to stand out from the huge e-commerce marketplace. And retail, as you know, in the past 20 years hasn't been doing so well. So the way that this is happening force the brands and corporations, they must think outside the box and how to do it in a way that's safe, virtual, do it virtually, safely, effectively, and in a massive amount, in a massive way. So what we see in the marketplace, and so many brands and corporations are reaching out to us and say, how do we do live streaming? So I believe live streaming has been, you know, as you have seen, it has quadrupled, it has increased so many times in Asia. But I believe that trend is coming to the US and Europe as well. And brands have to think about how do they do live streaming? How do they do social marketing? How do they combine live shopping with social marketing with their existing e-commerce infrastructures, right? So I believe this is so important for brands, not just to think about China's market. Of course, China is the biggest opportunity out there. The consumers are so hungry for new products and new brands.
Overseas brands.
You oversee brands,
Yeah.
they just want it and they just don't know they exist. So for every brands that people that are tuning in from YouTube, people are tuning in from WPP, pay attention. China is not a known market. You should try that. But go beyond that, even beyond Chinese market. If you build a live streaming team and learn from this experience, that same experience can be applied for, you know, Western market, for European market, for China, for American market as well. So live streaming must be included and considered into your future e-commerce strategy and business model.
Well, Zoe and Simon, thank you very much indeed. Don't go away because at the Q&A session, we already had a couple of questions already. So we'd like to have you back for that. Of course, in your timeline, you didn't put in the fact that the two of you got married somewhere in between this process as well, from starting the company to 2020. So that's also another, I suppose, benefit of live streaming as well.
We try to stay professional when we're working, but we have a couple look, don't we?
Look wonderful, excellent. Zoe, Simon, thank you very much indeed for joining us. We'll see a little bit later on. Now we're going to move to a little bit more context to live streaming before we move to our next guest, Simon Boyd. So let's take a little look at, I suppose, some high-level contextual understanding of live streaming, and we're going to do that through the lens of this lady here, who Simon will also, Mark will also talk a little bit about, and the significance of that will become much more apparent as we look at this. So this person here is Han Wei. She's known professionally as Weiya, and she sort of, I suppose, can sell anything. In April, she actually sold a rocket launch for around 40 million yuan. That's about, I don't know, 5.6 million US dollars. Her live streaming shows go live most nights in China on social networks. They're sort of part, I suppose, variety show, part infomercial, part sort of group chat. So let's put a few things in context about the significance of her. She gets an audience for her shows of more than 37 million Chinese consumers. So that's, I suppose, more than the audience that we got for the Game of Thrones finale. It's certainly larger than the audience we get for the Oscars. But here's the thing: rather than these 37 million Chinese consumers just watching, they are each night buying products worth millions and millions of dollars, mainly for clothing, cosmetics, appliances, maybe some prepared foods. But that, I suppose, now is not where it stopped. That's where it started, but it's certainly not where it stops. She also sold houses and cars in this way as well. And just to give you the scale of this, on 11/11, Alibaba's shopping festival last year, the 24-hour period, she turned over about 3 billion yuan in sales. Now, let me save you the problems of doing the mathematics on all of that. That's around $500 million $500 million in a 24-hour period. And again, to give you a little bit of context for that, Walmart globally does about $1.4 billion of sales per day. So that's not bad for one person with a phone. Not a bad day's work, where and the spread of coronavirus has probably doubled her audience over the course of the last 6 to 7 months. Now, China's ecosystem of live online shopping is around $60 billion at the moment, and it's having a dramatic impact already. So consider this in a sense, which is, we've long talked about the path to purchase. Now, I know the path to purchase was very linear. It's not linear anymore. People don't, via digital technology, they're in and out of the path in very different ways than they used to be. But in a sense, there was always it always has been a relatively slow sort of path from awareness to interest to purchase. But of course, now with live streaming, that process, going from awareness to purchase has been unbelievably turbocharged. And the consumer can literally go from being completely unaware to aware and to purchase in a matter of moments. So she live streams from her small studio headquarters. It's growing very, very fast and very, very quickly. And also she is now a catalyst, as you can see from the slide here. There's a will.i.am product that she's live streaming, some lipstick, some fruits. And the fruit purchase is quite interesting because now that's enabled the farmers themselves to sell directly through her straight to the consumers. A much faster way of getting to market, also a way of maximizing the income from the farmer as opposed to it all going through the supply chain as well. But she is a master or a mistress in a new class of salesmanship. So I suppose the question is this going to be not only a Chinese phenomenon, but something that we're going to have to understand and work with right across the world? Will we be discussing, and I suppose the answer to that, you can make your own mind up, but we'll be discussing some of that with both Simon and with Mark a little bit later on. But ponder this thought before we go over to Mark. One of the component parts of this, it's about influence, live streamers, smartphones, social, all of those elements are things that are truly, truly universal. So live stream shopping is, I suppose, a natural sort of combination of technology, streaming, influence, social commerce. And I think that is something that we all should stop for a few minutes and consider very, very strongly. This is her slightly more sophisticated showroom of products that she uses in order to live stream to her followers. You can be sophisticated, you can be very simple, but the bottom line is you really do have to understand it. I'd like now to introduce Simon Boyd, who's the Director of Sales for Smooth Skin. Simon, a very warm welcome. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Live from Brighton, I believe.
Manchester.
Oh, you're in Manchester, though, right. Okay, excellent.
200 miles in it, David.
Oh, well, there we are. Geography was never my strong point. So rather than me explain to you and get it all wrong, what Simon's company and products do, I think the best thing to do is to play a video so that you can all get some context of the company and the organization, the products. Then we will be discussing with Simon the whole concept of a live stream, because that is something that he's introduced to the organization, and the growth that he has seen from it is quite astonishing. So let's play the video. Right. Well, I hope that that gives you a really good feel, Simon. Everybody of the products. Simon, I think I called you Mark earlier before. I do apologise. I've got my boss on my brain clearly. Let's start on the basics. You are a relatively small company, growing fast. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Here's the mighty China, billions of consumers, complexities no end. Tell us a little bit about your China journey, and in particular, the role that live streaming so far has played in it.
Yeah, of course, David. So Smooth Skin, as you saw, is an IPL hair removal brand with unique elements to the proposition. We make beautiful products. They clinically work and they're clinically proven here in the UK. But they're also made and manufactured in our manufacturing facilities in South Wales. And we identified three years ago that was a great opportunity with Chinese consumers. And we started working Tmall Domestic and Tmall Global. And the momentum that we've seen since we entered the market just under 3 years has been absolutely huge. We've grown our business in terms of headcount from 38 people to just over 400. And we've seen huge success from a sales perspective in selling to consumers in the Chinese market. That's been driven by initially working very closely with the marketing tools within the Tmall platform, and then moving into influencers, moving into the KOL environment. But we identified 18 months ago a great opportunity to work with live streamers. We saw the platform, the live streaming platform, as a great opportunity to communicate the benefits of our product clearly to consumers. We knew that from experience in the territories through home shopping and through e-commerce, that we knew that when consumers got the ability to understand our products in more detail and more likely to buy. And as live streaming has kind of developed, we were early into working with the tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 live streaming channels, including Weiya and Austin Lee. And we've seen massive success and huge sales volumes. It's something that we are very pleased with, and we're very pleased with the partnership that Alibaba has allowed us to create with these people to grow our business.
A lot of people have talked about the Taobao live platform and the developments that have gone on to this. You can be honest with us. Is it really that good?
Yes. I think it's an interesting. It's such an interesting concept to a Western business that you can as you've seen through Mark's demonstration, a large number of customers in a really direct way, get direct feedback and sell in real time. I think that's something that is really powerful. It's really powerful to Chinese consumers, and actually, frankly, to many Western brands initially would have appeared quite ugly in the way that it's implemented. Chinese consumers really appreciate the honesty and the directness of the relationship with the influencer. And I think really powered the growth has been the relationship that Chinese consumers have with these key live streamers. And it's something that we've tapped into over the last 12 months.
Now, you mentioned those words, KOL, key opinion leader. Can you just explain to everybody exactly what a key opinion leader is, why it's significant, and then also, I suppose, your journey to find who the right key opinion leader for you, your product, your company is? It could have been in China, and then who you chose and why.
Well, frankly, I mean, KOLs, key opinion leaders, are frankly influencers in the West. They just have a different way of reaching consumers to traditional methods that you'd expect in Europe and the US. We've frankly worked really closely with a local partner who's been key to driving our business, our growth. And we've tested and we've learned and we've failed really fast. And I think that's really important when you're working in China, that you test lots of different routes to market. You test lots of new ideas and new channels. And when you find one that really works, you try very hard to continue to grow that channel. And I think what's important is, KOLs are at different levels. They can have, tens of millions of followers in the way that Wei are and Austin Lee have, but also they can be a lot smaller. It's interesting, Mark saying, showing a 10,000 people watching his last live stream live. But it's all about finding a channel that allows you to convert a number of those customers commercially and make sure that the commercials work. And we've found success across the plethora and range of size of influencer and size of live stream. It's not just about finding the one with the largest base. You can be just successful sometimes finding niche, smaller influencers and KOLs and live streamers who actually will convert more of your customers, more of their followers to your products.
I mean, can you do it without a KOL? Can you sort of manage to cut through, or do you actually need that to give you that sort of trajectory which you can then capitalize on?
I believe China is all about momentum, and what KOLs give you if you can start building your brand with KOLs. And through finding live streamers that work, it creates momentum, allows you to grow your business. I think it's very hard now for a Western brand entering China to not have a strategy around key opinion leads and to some extent around live streaming. I think it's absolutely central to what we do. And I think Alibaba give us the opportunity the Alibaba platform and Taobao Live gives us the opportunity to reach those consumers and those live streams in a really clear way.
Now, you've worked with I'm going to say the mighty Wei is probably a best description, and also the very powerful Austin Lee, not to be confused with Austin Powers. Explain, what is it like?
Terrifying.
Sorry, terrifying, did you say?
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's the most amazing experience of my commercial life, and and terrifying all at the same time. I think you have a picture, as Mark just showed, of what a studio looks like, and even where you work in a very small space and rotates the products very quickly. But the sheer audience size is huge. I did where the 11/11 launch last October, and the kind of the audience figure for my 7-minute slot was 13.5 million people.
That's not a bad audience.
Yeah. It's in Western terms, that's it's the peak viewing on the 6 o'clock news in the UK. It's a massive audience, and also most importantly, it can be converted for. What I would say though is that it's important that as you move your strategy forward in China, that you're always looking for new opportunities to find the right partner for you. I think one of the challenges for emerging brands moving forward will be just the sheer scale of these tier 1 influencers now. It makes the commercial workings quite hard if you don't have an existing business with them or an existing business in China. Actually, looking for smaller players to test and learn might be a better strategy for your business if you're just looking to find.
Just explain, clearly not in huge amounts of detail in terms of commercial confidentiality, but in a sense, what is the model in terms of the payment process for the KOLs in terms of what happens across that distribution channel?
So there's an upfront payment and a commission structure, which will vary by category. So that's something that you'll manage with the partner directly, and it just sits within a commercial framework that most people on this call will be familiar with. But the key thing for me is it's about conversion, and it's about the number of customers that you can convert very quickly to your brand and to your products. And I think one thing that's really the environment suits products that need to be explained or alternatively be sold effectively to create a buzz and an awareness around the product. And one thing we found certainly in our emerging category where 2 years ago awareness of our products was very low is live streaming and KOLs allow us to significantly increase awareness of our products, as well as increasing sell-through, and that's something that's really important to us.
Now, what advice would you give to people who are watching this thinking, wow, this is interesting, it's not quite as complex, difficult, capital intensive as I thought? What advice would you give people on the journey to give it a go? I mean, can you just give it a go, or do you really have to study it for months? And
I think the first thing is anybody who thinks China is simple is basically conning themselves. I think China is incredibly complicated. To really commit to China business, and we committed very heavily 3 years ago in terms of time and resource. I mean, I was in China 6 times in the first 3 months of my joining the business in January 2017. And once you found that you committed, you need to find a great partner to work with. It's very hard to manage your marketing remotely from the West because you need local expertise, not just to be able to help you enter the market, but also be able to keep up with the speed of change and the speed of trends in the market, because China moves very quickly. And everybody says that, but the reality is China moves a lot more quickly than any other market I've operated in. And I always say to any business that wants to enter China, are you actually willing to move that quickly? Because they all say yes, but the reality is you need to be literally looking at your business on an hourly basis. It's not something that you can leave for a month and expect to have the same successful mix.
I'm sorry, how difficult was that to get through the organization? I mean, so the organization understood that for this market, you really did have to move fast.
Organization, and we found a great partner. So I think that's a really good starting point.
And you've grown from how many people to what now?
It was 38 when we joined when I joined in 2018. We've now got just over 400 across our business, bearing in mind that we are a UK manufacturing business. So as we've scaled manufacturing plants in Swansea and South Wales. And that's been a huge success, not just for the Sidon business, the smooth skin business, but also for the area, because in the economic climate we're in now, we've managed to create a lot of roles in a part of the country that needs them.
And how much of that would you put down to the success in China of that scale of growth?
A significant amount.
Before we rejoin the team in New York, in your view, because you have a great understanding of Europe, you obviously look after somewhat 25 territories, not just China, so you have a very good view of the
37 now.
Sorry, 27. I'm sorry.
Only 37 now.
The environment's changing fast, etc. Do you think that live streaming is something that will grow and be significant outside of China? We can all see now that in China this is here to stay, and it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. I think we're all really looking to this forthcoming 11/11 to see quite how big the jump is going to be this year in live stream. But do you think it has relevancy outside of China?
I think in Southeast Asia, absolutely. And we're already seeing live streaming being an important channel in the emerging e-commerce environment in Southeast Asia. I think one of the challenges for Europe and for the US is China allows the consumers to have a very integrated experience, as you saw from the demonstration from Mark. Customer service, feedback, and the buy mechanism are all included within the mobile commerce experience. And I don't think anybody in Europe or the US has really grasped that yet. Absolutely, I believe it will come. And I think there's the major players in Europe e-commerce will see this as a way of adding value to their existing channels. But I think Southeast Asia will grow a lot quicker, given the infrastructure is already in place and there's less barriers to driving a live streaming strategy.
Fantastic. Well, Mark and Zoe, if you can rejoin us now. We've had a few questions in. I'm gonna start off. Again, in all of your views and opinions, what is it that actually makes a good live streamer stroke key opinion leader? What characteristics must they have in order to be successful?
I'm sure Zoe will have a lot to add on, but when it comes to live streaming show, when it comes to live streaming shows, it's not always about selling something, like pushing something out to sell to consumers. It's about building a relationship, creating an experience, engaging the consumers. Those are the key facts. You don't walk up, Zoe used to describe it, you don't walk to someone on the street and say, can I sell you something, and expect that to work.
But isn't ultimately that's what it's all about? I mean, or are we getting this wrong?
Not from the very beginning. The very beginning is having a conversation, building a relationship, understanding the customer's needs. From in the past 4 years, we've sold anything from diamond necklace to red wine to snacks, skincares, and those things you have to trust somebody to make the purchase, right? The quality of the diamond, right? The taste of the red wine, the skincare that's you're gonna put on your face. If you don't trust a live streaming host, how are you gonna make a purchase? So building a relationship is number one. And for the brands that are watching this out here, I think e-commerce is changing. You have to be able to build a direct relationship with the consumer, and live streaming is the best way to do it. Do you have anything to add?
I think as a live streaming host, it has to be very warming. And first of all, have to be likable somehow, and you be able to share your own life, to get personal level with your customer base. I think that's the most important thing. It's really a very strong bond between the brand, the host, and the customer. It's really like that host has to be able to deliver not just the product, but the brand history, the brand story, and the whole culture behind this brand.
Yeah. Content is very important.
Exactly.
Yeah, content is very important. Telling a story, building a relationship, have an engaging live streaming and shopping experience are the keys.
Yeah.
Simon.
Yeah, just to add, I mean, I think the summary is just trust. I think to have a great live streaming channel, you need to have trust with your consumer base. I think if without that, it's almost impossible to grow and to get repeat purchase and repeat visit. If you look at the successful live streamers, they have a hugely loyal base. Weya's a perfect example of that. Her Nuren, Weya de Nuren, are very much very loyal to her, and they follow what she says.
But it's extraordinary for an individual like that to have trust amongst 35 million people.
I mean, can I just piggyback on what Simon said? Weya can sell anything from a tea bag to a rocket launcher.
It's a real rocket.
From Ferrari to like tofu. Anything she sells, consumer believe that she's selling the best quality product at the lowest price. And that type of relationship and trust is built over time. And for any brands that are considering live streaming, think about how do you build that trust? How do you build that relationship?
I'm not certain whether you can get YouTube in heaven. I suppose time will tell. I'm not eager to find that out at the moment, to be honest. But I think if, I don't know, the doyens of retail, the Gordon Selfridges of this world, the founders of Walmart, Sam, if he was listening to this, both of them, they'd have massive smiles on their faces, because this seems to be like going back to retail 101, you know, having a fantastic story, being trustworthy, being a tremendous salesman, having empathy with your customer. It feels like this amazing amount of technology has taken us back to the origins of great retailing.
Absolutely, David. I think it goes, if you go back to the origins of Marx's Bazaar, I think that's a nice example of this is very, it's the technology-driven version of that, and I think it's a fantastic way for consumers to have direct contact with a brand through a salesperson that they trust, and the experience is so the experience that they get. If you saw this description, the demonstration from the Lux guys, is the equivalent for many products of being in a store. It's a great experience, and if the customers have that combination of trust and experience, it's a great sales channel. What
impact do you think this is going to have on traditional retail? Is this going to be another nail in the well, I don't want to say coffin, because I firmly believe that physical retailer is here to stay, and that maybe a slightly different form, but we all want it. But is this something that has a symbiotic relationship with something physical, or is this something that is completely diverse from physical retailing?
It's interesting.
Go ahead, Simon.
Off you go.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So I believe if retailers can adopt this new technology and evolved, retailer is here to stay. Everybody has to rethink the way they connect and sell to their consumers. I believe with or without the pandemic, things will change. But this pandemic just accelerated the change. I can't disclose. I mean, David, sometimes when you ask questions, I almost think you are reading my mind, because I can't disclose the details, but Target is thinking about doing an experimental live streaming business, and we were invited into that discussion to help them. But I can't disclose all the detail until the project is done. So everybody is thinking, right? How do we change? How do we connect to the consumer? How do we not get left behind when 5G is here in the US and everything, the speed of data transformation and AI technology and augmented reality and live streaming, mixed reality, all of this are coming, whether you like it or not, right? And if you don't adopt, then you will get left behind.
I have a story in China. All the physical store sales assistants are encouraged actually to open up their own live channel to sell whatever that's in the physical store. So that's, it's already transformed into the physical store, actually helping the physical store with their inventory during the pandemic.
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah. Now,
just to add to that, David.
Yeah, please do.
I mean, I think the barriers to entry for live streaming is so low that actually the great opportunity is for the KOC base, the base of lots of smaller influencers and smaller live streamers is hugely exciting, because if we could use examples of farmers in China selling products directly to consumers using live streamers. We can use examples of small brands creating huge amounts of awareness through the live. And I think actually that's the future of this. It democratizes to some extent. Democratizes commerce, and that's really, really powerful.
One last, we've got literally 1.5 minutes, so quick answer from both of you. In terms of the value, we talked about the importance of trust, but in terms of the other value propositions within a live stream, presumably it centers around the notion of sort of discounts and content and exclusivity. How important are those three, and is any one more important than the other?
I think from my perspective, immediacy is an important part of the purchase. Certainly Wayar works on the principle that you're getting the best quality at the best price, as Mark said. Other live streamers have a slightly different proposition in terms of their first to market, or they're talking about something new and different. And I think the most important thing is immediacy, and you wanting and creating desire to buy that purchase and a reason to buy that purchase. It can be price, it can be proposition, it can be exclusivity, but the most important thing is there's an immediate reason to buy.
Well, if I may add to Simon, I totally agree to what Simon said. I believe you have to give people a reason to watch. Recently, especially after this COVID situation, so many corporations and platforms reach out to us and say, how do we do this, and why are people tuning in to watch what we're doing? You have to give people reason, whether it's immediacy, see now, buy now, create that demand generation. You got to do it right now. If you don't do it right now, you're missing out. 2, it's exclusivity and scarcity, right? If you do it during this period, you get it. If you don't do it during this period, you don't get it. Anyway, entertainment, engagement, and content creation, all of that is if you add these key ingredients together, you have a successful live streaming. It's not just one thing, it's multiple things you have to think about.
Exactly.
Well, we could carry on for a long time, but unfortunately, the grim reaper of time has paid us a visit. So I would very much like to thank both Mark and Zoe from New York, and thanks very much for the live stream into China, and Simon as well. Thank you very much indeed. Now, that concludes the third in our 3-part series. I'd like to thank all of you for participating in the course of the last 3 weeks. I would definitely like to thank David Lloyd, the General Manager of the UK and Nordics from Alibaba, for his partnership and his help and cooperation in these sessions. Also, Prima CV, Scala Dip from Alibaba team, and from WPP, Sarah Cousins, and Eric from his own company, but who's helped us on the tech team. Eric is Swedish and he's got a very, very unpronounceable name, so I'm not even going to try and do it. But from me, David Roth at WPP, thank you very much indeed. We will be in contact with you with some links to clearly the recordings, and also some other insights that we think you would benefit from watching and reading. But for the moment, from the final part of this 3-part series, it's been an absolute pleasure and delight to be able to have you with us. So from talking about live streams, I suppose, to a live stream itself, we really should have sold something. If anybody wants to buy my shirt, make me an offer. Thank you very much indeed, and have a great rest of the morning, evening, or afternoon, depending on where you are. Thanks very much indeed. Bye.
Thank you very much.
David.
Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.
Pleasure.